In the vast expanse of the universe, where countless stars twinkled like diamonds on a black velvet cloth, a powerful civilization rose from the ashes of 1,000 conquered worlds. This was the birth of the Galactic Empire, a force so mighty that entire solar systems trembled at the mere whisper of its name. The empire began on a planet called Zix, home to a species of tall, blue-skinned beings with 4 arms and eyes that glowed like fire. These Zixians were smart, very smart. They built machines that could think, ships that could jump through space, and weapons that could turn planets to dust. As their technology grew, so did their hunger for more. More resources, more power, more control. The leader of the Zixians, a cunning female named Empress Tora, looked up at the stars one night and thought, "Why should we be content with just one world when the entire universe could be ours?" And so, the great expansion began. The Zixians built massive ships, each one as big as a city, filled with soldiers and settlers ready to claim new worlds. They called these ships Star Eaters because they could drain a star of its energy to power their engines. At first, they found empty planets, rich with minerals, and strange new life forms. The empire grew quickly, spreading across their home galaxy like a wildfire. But soon, they encountered other intelligent species. Some tried to fight back, others begged for mercy. In the end, it didn't matter. The empire's technology was too advanced, their armies too large. World after world fell under their control. The Zixians weren't cruel masters, not really. They didn't destroy the species they conquered. Instead, they made them part of the empire. Each new race had a job to do. Some became miners, others farmers, and a few were even allowed to join the imperial military. But make no mistake, they were all servants of the empire now. As decades turned to centuries, the empire's power grew beyond imagination. They built wonders that defied belief. A ring around a star to capture all its energy, a computer the size of a moon that could predict the future, and weapons that could move planets. But Empress Tora and her council were not satisfied. They looked at the map of the known universe and saw that there were still galaxies beyond their reach. "We must expand further," Sora declared. "The entire universe must know the peace and order of our rule." The Empire's scientists worked day and night to create a new type of ship, one that could travel between galaxies. After years of work, they succeeded. The first intergalactic cruiser, named Sora's Will, was ready for its maiden voyage. As the massive ship prepared to leave, carrying tens of thousands of the Empire's best soldiers and brightest minds, Empress Tora gave a speech that was broadcast to every world in the Empire. "My loyal subjects, today marks the beginning of a new era. Our great empire will no longer be confined to a single galaxy. We will spread our civilization, our knowledge, and our rule to the farthest corners of the universe. Every star, every planet, every form of life will know the benefits of our guidance. This is our destiny." The crowds cheered, their voices echoing across 1,000 worlds. The intergalactic cruiser fired up its engines, creating a light so bright it outshone the stars. With a flash that could be seen across the galaxy, the ship vanished into the void between galaxies. Little did the Empire know that this journey would lead them to a small blue planet in a distant galaxy, a planet that would change everything. A planet called Earth. As Sora's Will traveled through the dark space between galaxies, the crew spent their time in suspended animation, dreaming of the new worlds they would conquer. The ship's AI kept everything running smoothly, following its programmed mission: find habitable planets, assess their potential value to the Empire, and prepare for colonization. After what seemed like an eternity in the cold emptiness of intergalactic space, the ship's sensors detected a suitable solar system. As it approached, the AI began to wake the crew. They would soon arrive at their destination, ready to expand the Empire's reach once more. But this time would be different. This time, they would encounter a species unlike any they had met before. a species that would make the mighty Galactic Empire question everything they thought they knew about the universe and their place in it. The humans were waiting, unaware of the storm that was about to break upon their world. The stage was set for a conflict that would shake the foundations of the galaxy. As the massive intergalactic cruiser, Sora's Will, entered the Milky Way galaxy, its advanced sensors began scanning for signs of life. The ship's eye woke up the scout team, led by Commander Zark, a decorated veteran of 100 conquests. Zark stretched his 4 arms and blinked his fiery eyes as he emerged from the cryopod. "Report," he ordered, his voice rough from long disuse. "Commander," the AI responded, its voice calm and emotionless. "We have detected a planet with signs of intelligent life. Preliminary scans show a technological civilization, but at a very primitive stage compared to the Empire." Zark's mouth curved into what passed for a smile among his species. "Excellent. Prepare a stealth shuttle for reconnaissance." Soon, Zark and a small team of elite scouts were descending through Earth's atmosphere, their ship cloaked to avoid detection. They landed in a remote forest, the ground soft under their feet. "Spread out," Zark commanded. "Observe, but do not engage." The scouts moved silently through the woods, their advanced camouflage making them nearly invisible. They watched in fascination as cars zoomed by on nearby roads, planes soared overhead, and satellites blinked in the night sky. One scout, Vex, approached Zark with excitement in her eyes. "Commander, look at this." She held up a discarded smartphone she had found. Zark examined the device, his expression a mix of amusement and contempt. "Such primitive technology," he muttered. "They're barely out of their stone age by our standards." As night fell, the scouts gathered to share their observations. They had witnessed humans going about their daily lives, working in offices, playing in parks, and interacting with their crude machines. "These humans are weak," one scout declared. "Their bodies are soft, with only 2 arms and eyes that don't even glow." But Zark held up a hand for silence. "Do not underestimate them," he warned. "Remember the lesson of the Froxterians." The scouts fell quiet, remembering the story of a seemingly harmless species that had managed to destroy an entire Imperial fleet before being subdued. "We must study them further," Zark decided. "Their technology may be primitive, but there's something different about these humans." Over the next few days, the scouts observed humanity more closely. They watched in fascination as humans argued passionately about politics, created beautiful art and music, and showed surprising kindness to one another, and even to lesser creatures. "They're so emotional," Vex noted with a mix of disgust and intrigue. Zark nodded. "Yes, and that could make them unpredictable. We must report back to the Empress." As the scouts prepared to return to their ship, something unexpected happened. A young human child, wandering away from a camping site, stumbled upon their hidden shuttle. The child's eyes went wide with wonder as she touched the smooth alien metal. Before the scouts could react, she had activated a panel, causing lights to flash and a soft hum to fill the air. Zark moved quickly, ready to capture the child, but he hesitated when he saw no fear in her eyes, only curiosity and excitement. "Hello," the girl said brightly, waving at the aliens she could now see. "Are you from space? Can I see your spaceship?" The scouts looked at each other in confusion. This was not the reaction they had expected. Zark made a quick decision. "We must leave now. Wipe her memory, and let's go." But as they approached the girl, a shout rang out. "Emily, where are you?" The girl turned and called back, "Daddy, come see the aliens." Panic erupted among the scouts. Their mission was compromised. As the girl's father crashed through the underbrush, Zark gave the order to retreat. The scouts rushed to their shuttle, powering up the engines as the confused and frightened father arrived on the scene. The last thing Zark saw as the ship's door closed was the man's face, a mix of terror and awe as he clutched his daughter protectively. As the shuttle blasted off, Leaving behind a scorched clearing and 2 stunned humans, Zark knew that everything had changed. Their mission of quiet observation was over. The humans now knew they were not alone in the universe. Back on Sora's will, Zark gave his report to the ship's commander. The humans are primitive, yes, but there's something about them. A spirit, a resilience. I recommend caution in our approach. The commander scoffed. Caution against these primitives. Nonsense. We will proceed as planned. Prepare the invasion fleet. The Galactic Empire will have this world, and its troublesome inhabitants will learn to kneel before Empress Sora. As alarms blared throughout the massive ship, signaling the start of invasion preparations, Zark couldn't shake a feeling of unease. Something told him that these humans would not submit easily, and that the Empire might have finally met its match. Little did they know, on the planet below, a little girl was telling anyone who would listen about the blue people from the stars, setting in motion events that would change the fate of 2 civilizations forever. The news of aliens spread like wildfire across Earth. At first, many didn't believe little Emily's story about blue people from the stars. But when more sightings were reported and blurry photos appeared online, the world could no longer deny the truth. We were not alone in the universe. Governments scrambled to respond. Emergency meetings were held at the United Nations. Military forces around the world were put on high alert. Scientists worked around the clock to analyze the little evidence they had. Meanwhile, high above the Earth, the Galactic Empire prepared for invasion. Massive warships emerged from hyperspace, their sleek forms blocking out the stars. Empress Sora herself had arrived to oversee the conquest of this new world. Begin the attack, Sora commanded, her 4 arms crossed as she gazed at the blue planet on the view screen. Show these primitives the might of our empire. The first wave of the invasion began with an electromagnetic pulse that swept across the globe. In an instant, most of Earth's electronics went dark. Cities plunged into darkness. Communications fell silent, and panic began to spread. As chaos erupted on the surface, the Empire's ships descended through the atmosphere. They targeted major cities, their energy weapons cutting through buildings like butter. Tanks and fighter jets tried to respond, but their weapons barely scratched the alien ship shields. In Washington, D.C., President Sarah Chen stood in the ruins of the White House, watching the sky burn. "We can't win this fight conventionally," she said to her advisors. "We need to think differently." Across the ocean in Moscow, President Alexei Volkov made a similar realization. "We must put aside our differences," he declared in an emergency broadcast. "The future of humanity depends on our unity." In a secret bunker beneath the Alps, a team of the world's best scientists and hackers worked feverishly. Dr. Yuki Tanaka, a brilliant computer scientist, had an idea. "Their technology is advanced, but it's still technology," she explained. "If we can understand it, we can fight it." As the alien invasion raged on, humanity began to adapt. People learned to live without electricity, returning to old ways of survival. Underground resistance movements formed, sharing information through hand-delivered messages and shortwave radios. The Empire was surprised by the humans' resilience. "These creatures are like insects," one Imperial commander complained. "We crush them, but they keep coming back." Zark, the scout who had first observed the humans, warned his superiors again. "We're underestimating them. Their strength isn't in their technology, it's in their spirit." But his warnings went unheeded. The Empire pushed on, confident in their superior firepower and technology. Then, 3 weeks into the invasion, something unexpected happened. As an Imperial ship hovered over New York City, its engines suddenly failed. The massive vessel crashed into the Hudson River, sending tidal waves through the streets of Manhattan. In London, another ship's weapon systems mysteriously shut down. In Beijing, a third ship's life support failed, forcing it to retreat. Empress Sora was furious. "How is this possible?" she demanded. "How can these primitives be defeating our most advanced ships?" The answer came from Dr. Tanaka and her team. They had managed to decrypt part of the alien technology's operating system. "It's like a universal language of technology," she explained to the world leaders on a secure line. "Different in form, but similar in function to our own systems." With this breakthrough, humanity began to turn the tide. Hackers from around the world joined forces, launching cyber attacks on the alien fleet. They couldn't defeat the Empire's technology entirely, but they could disrupt it, buying time for the resistance on the ground. The Empire was forced to change tactics. They had expected a quick victory, but now faced a prolonged war. Empress Sora, not used to failure, became increasingly erratic in her commands. "Burn their cities to the ground," she ordered. "Show no mercy." But with each atrocity, human resistance grew stronger. People from all walks of life joined the fight. Farmers became soldiers, teachers became strategists, and children became spies. As the war entered its second month, both sides had learned painful lessons. The Empire realized that conquering Earth wouldn't be as easy as they had thought. And humanity, while battered and bruised, discovered a strength they never knew they had. In the smoking ruins of Paris, a group of resistance fighters gathered around a makeshift radio. They listened intently as a message of hope crackled through the static. "People of Earth, hold on. We are not beaten. We will never surrender. Today we have proven that united, we can stand against any threat. Tomorrow, we take the fight to them. For Earth." As cheers erupted from hidden bunkers and secret bases around the world, the Galactic Empire faced a troubling question. Had they finally met a species they couldn't conquer? As the war entered its third month, both sides were feeling the strain. The Galactic Empire, used to quick victories, was frustrated by human resilience. Humanity, despite its growing resistance, was still outmatched by alien technology. In the ruins of Cape Canaveral, a secret project was underway. Dr. Elena Rodriguez, a brilliant physicist, had been working non-stop on understanding the alien tech. "We've cracked their FTL drive," she announced to a room full of tired but excited scientists. "FTL?" asked a young assistant. "Faster than light," Elena explained. "It's how they travel between stars. And now, we can too." This breakthrough changed everything. Humanity now had a chance to take the fight beyond Earth. Meanwhile, in the Imperial flagship, Empress Sora was losing patience. "Why haven't we crushed these insects yet?" she demanded. Commander Zark, now her reluctant advisor, spoke up. "Your Highness, these humans are different. They adapt quickly. They're united in ways we've never seen before." Sora's eyes flashed dangerously. "Are you saying we can't win?" "No, Your Highness," Zark replied carefully. "But perhaps we should consider a new approach." But Sora was done listening. "Enough. Prepare the Planet Killer. We'll make an example of these humans." The Planet Killer was the Empire's most terrifying weapon. It could crack a planet's crust, making it uninhabitable. Using it was considered a last resort, even for the ruthless Empire. As the massive weapon was moved into position, alerts went off in resistance bases around the world. Dr. Tanaka's team had intercepted the Empire's communications. "They're going to destroy the planet," she warned world leaders in an emergency call. In Washington, President Chen made a bold decision. "We have no choice. We must use the FTL drive." A plan was quickly formed. While the resistance on Earth would try to sabotage the Planet Killer, a small team would use the experimental FTL drive to strike at the heart of the Empire. The team was an unlikely mix. Jack, a former Marine; Ling, a teenage hacker; Dr. Rodriguez, and to everyone's surprise, Emily, the young girl who first spotted the aliens. Now a bit older and determined to help, she had a unique ability to understand alien tech. Their ship, named Hope, was cobbled together from salvaged alien parts and human ingenuity. As they prepared to launch, Jack looked at his team. "This is crazy, you know that, right?" Ling grinned. "Crazy is all we have left." With a flash of light, Hope vanished, leaving Earth behind. Back on Earth, the Resistance put their plan into action. Teams of hackers worked to disrupt the Planet Killer systems. Brave pilots in jury-rigged fighters launched suicide missions against the massive weapon. In orbit, Zark watched the humans' desperate defense with a mix of awe and sadness. "Such bravery," he muttered. "All for nothing." But he was wrong. As the Planet Killer prepared to fire, it suddenly went dark. On its hull, a small team of humans in spacesuits cheered. They had managed to plant explosives at a critical point. Empress Cora was furious. How? How can they keep defeating us? Her question was answered when alarms blared throughout the ship. Something had just appeared next to the flagship, the Hope, back from its seemingly impossible mission. Inside, the team was battered but triumphant. They had found the Empire's homeworld and delivered a message. Earth was not alone. Other conquered species, inspired by human resistance, were rising up. As this news spread through the Imperial fleet, confusion and fear set in. Some ships began to retreat. Others, loyal to Xora, prepared for a final attack. On Earth, people watched the sky with bated breath. The Planet Killer was disabled, but the Empire's fleet was still vast. In the Hope, Emily looked at a strange device she had built using alien tech. I think I can shut down their whole fleet," she said quietly. Jack looked at her in surprise. "The whole fleet? How?" Emily shrugged. "I don't know how I know. I just do." As Cora gave the order for a final assault on Earth, Emily activated her device. Across the sky, Imperial ships began to lose power, drifting helplessly in space. In that moment, the tide of the war truly turned. Humanity had not just survived, they had won. As cheers erupted around the world, Jack looked at his young team. "So," he said with a grin, "who's up for giving the Empire a taste of their own medicine?" The human counterattack was about to begin, and the Galactic Empire was about to learn a harsh lesson. Never underestimate the human spirit. The tables had turned. With most of the Imperial fleet disabled and drifting in Earth's orbit, humanity prepared for its first steps into the galactic stage. But victory brought new challenges and difficult decisions. World leaders gathered in the underground bunker of Geneva to discuss their next move. The room was tense, filled with a mix of excitement and apprehension. President Chen spoke first. "We have a choice to make. Do we simply defend Earth, or do we take the fight to the Empire?" President Volkov leaned forward. "We must strike now, while they're weak. Show them and the galaxy that humans are not to be trifled with." But others were more cautious. Dr. Tanaka warned, "We barely understand this technology. Rushing into space could be disastrous." As the debate raged on, Jack and his team from the Hope were called in to report on their mission. Emily, the young girl whose unique connection with alien tech had saved Earth, stood nervously before the world's most powerful people. "Tell us, child," Chen said gently. "What did you see out there?" Emily took a deep breath. "I saw worlds like ours, but different. Alien races living in fear of the Empire. But when they heard about us, there was hope in their eyes." Her words silenced the room. Jack stepped forward. "The galaxy is waiting, ladies and gentlemen. Not just for revenge, but for freedom." The decision was made. Humanity would venture into space, not as conquerors like the Empire, but as liberators. Meanwhile, aboard the Imperial flagship, chaos reigned. Empress Xora, her 4 arms flailing in rage, ordered her subordinates to restore power to the fleet. But without their advanced tech, the mighty Empire was reduced to confusion and panic. Commander Zark watched the Empress's meltdown with a mix of fear and something else. Doubt. For the first time in his long career, he began to question the Empire's path. As Cora ranted, Zark made a decision. He slipped away from the bridge and made his way to the ship's communication center. With shaking hands, he sent out a broadcast to the human leaders. On Earth, the war room erupted in surprise as Zark's face appeared on their screens. "Humans," he said, his voice trembling slightly. "I come to you not as an enemy, but as a potential ally." The room exploded in shouts and arguments. Trust an alien. It could be a trap. But Emily, who had been quietly listening, spoke up. "He's telling the truth," she said simply. "I can feel it." Despite misgivings, the human leaders agreed to hear Zark out. The alien commander revealed the Empire's weaknesses, its internal politics, and most importantly, the location of other subjugated worlds ready to rebel. With this information, humanity formulated a daring plan. They would use the captured Imperial ships, combined with their own reverse-engineered vessels, to launch a multi-pronged attack on the Empire's key strongholds. The next few weeks were a flurry of activity. Around the world, factories that once built cars and computers now produced spaceship parts. Former pilots trained day and night in simulators based on Imperial tech. And in labs across the globe, scientists and engineers worked tirelessly to unlock more secrets of alien technology. As the day of the attack approached, a strange mood fell over Earth. There was excitement, yes, but also fear. They were about to leave their home, to fight a war among the stars. Would they ever see Earth again? The night before the launch, Jack found Emily staring up at the sky. "Scared?" he asked. She nodded. "What if we're wrong? What if we're no better than the Empire?" Jack put a hand on her shoulder. "That's why we have you, kid. To remind us what we're fighting for." As dawn broke, the first human fleet prepared to leave Earth. Thousands of ships, a mix of captured Imperial vessels and human-made crafts, filled the sky. At their head was the Hope, now upgraded and ready for the challenges ahead. On the ground, millions watched in awe as humanity took its first real steps into the cosmos. President Chen's voice crackled over the global broadcast. "Today, we go not just as Earthlings, but as guardians of freedom for all sentient beings. May we never forget our humanity, even among the stars." With a flash of light, the fleet engaged their FTL drives. Earth grew small behind them, a blue marble in the vastness of space. The next chapter of human history was about to be written among the stars. As they raced toward their first target, Jack looked at his crew. Ling, her fingers dancing over alien controls. Dr. Rodriguez, studying the star map with intense focus. And Emily, her eyes closed, seemingly communing with the ship itself. "All right, team," Jack said, a mix of determination and excitement in his voice. "Let's go liberate a galaxy." The Galactic Empire had no idea what was coming. Humanity had arrived on the galactic stage, and nothing would ever be the same. The human fleet dropped out of FTL near their first target, a small rocky planet called Sen-4, home to a species of silicon-based life forms. According to Zark's intelligence, it was a key fuel production site for the Empire. As they approached, tension filled the bridge of the Hope. Jack gripped his chair tightly. "Any sign they've spotted us?" Ling shook her head, her eyes glued to the sensor readouts. "Nothing yet. Looks like our stealth tech is holding." Suddenly, Emily gasped. Everyone turned to look at her. "I can feel them," she said, her eyes wide. "The Xenites. They're scared, but hopeful." Dr. Rodriguez nodded. "Remember, our goal is to liberate, not conquer. We're not the Empire." The plan was simple in theory. Disable the Imperial defenses, contact the local resistance, and help them overthrow their oppressors. In practice, it was anything but simple. As the fleet moved into position, alarms blared. "We've been spotted," Ling shouted. Imperial ships rose from the planet's surface, weapons charging. The space above Xen-4 erupted in a dazzling display of energy weapons and explosions. But the humans were ready. Months of studying Imperial tech had prepared them for this moment. Their ships danced through the enemy fire, returning volleys with pinpoint accuracy. On the planet's surface, the Xenites watched in awe. Crystalline beings that looked like walking geodes, they had long ago given up hope of freedom. Now strange new ships fought their oppressors in the skies above. In the chaos of the battle, the Hope slipped through the Imperial defenses. Jack and his team landed near the main resistance hideout, a cavern deep in Senfor's crystalline mountains. As they stepped out, the alien atmosphere shimmering around their protective suits, they were met by a group of Xenites. The aliens' crystal bodies pulsed with internal light, a sign of their excitement and fear. Emily stepped forward, her hand outstretched. The lead Xenite, a being that looked like a jagged amethyst come to life, reached out its own crystalline appendage. As they touched, a spark of understanding passed between them. Emily smiled. "They're with us," she said simply. With the Xenite's help, the human team infiltrated the main Imperial base. While Jack and Ling planted explosives at key points, Dr. Rodriguez worked with the Xenite engineers to hack into the base's systems. Above, the space battle raged on. Human ships, though outnumbered, fought with a ferocity that surprised the Imperial forces. Years of watching alien invasion movies had, ironically, prepared humanity for this moment. Just when it seemed the Imperial forces might overwhelm them, the planet-side team succeeded. The main base's defenses went down, and the Xenite resistance poured out of hiding, overwhelming the confused Imperial troops. As the last Imperial ship fled or surrendered, cheers erupted both in space and on the planet's surface. Senfor was free. But the victory came at a cost. Several human ships had been destroyed, their crews lost. On the planet, both humans and Xenites had fallen in the fighting. As the dust settled, Jack and his team stood with the Xenite leaders, watching the sun rise over the liberated world. The Xenite leader, its body glowing with a warm light, spoke in a voice that sounded like chiming crystals. Emily translated. "For generations, we thought ourselves alone in our suffering. Now we see that the night of oppression is ending, and a new dawn of freedom is breaking across the stars." The humans nodded solemnly. This was only the beginning. There were countless worlds to liberate, and the heart of the Empire still stood strong. As they prepared to leave Senfor, with promises of continued support and alliance, a message came through from Earth. President Chen's voice crackled over the comms. "Well done, all of you. But we have a new problem. Our long-range sensors have detected a massive Imperial fleet heading towards Earth. They're out for revenge." The celebration died in an instant. Jack looked at his team, saw the same determination reflected in their eyes. "Looks like our homecoming will have to wait," he said grimly. As they boarded the Hope, Emily lingered for a moment, looking back at the freed Xenites. "We'll be back," she promised. "The galaxy will be free." The human fleet, now joined by eager Xenite volunteers, jumped to FTL. The next battle awaited, and this time, Earth itself hung in the balance. The Galactic Empire was about to learn another harsh lesson. Humans don't just fight for themselves. They fight for everyone. The human fleet raced back to Earth, pushing their ships to the limit. They knew they were in a desperate race against time. The fate of their homeworld hung in the balance. As they dropped out of FTL, near the outskirts of the solar system, a chilling sight greeted them. The Imperial Revenge Fleet was massive, dwarfing even the armada that had first attacked Earth. At its center was a ship so large it seemed to blot out the stars, the personal dreadnought of Empress Xora herself. On the bridge of the Hope, Jack's team watched in stunned silence. Ling was the first to speak, her voice barely a whisper. "How can we fight that?" But Emily, her eyes glowing with an otherworldly light, smiled. "We're not alone," she said. As if on cue, ships began appearing all around them. Vessels of all shapes and sizes, crewed by dozens of alien races. The beings they had liberated had come to Earth's aid. A transmission came through. It was Zark, now leading a faction of Imperial defectors. "Thought you could use some help," he said, his fiery eyes twinkling. The battle that followed was like nothing the galaxy had ever seen. The skies above Earth became a kaleidoscope of energy weapons, missiles, and ships locked in mortal combat. On Earth, Humans watched the battle with bated breath. This was humanity's finest hour, fighting not just for themselves, but for the freedom of all sentient beings. Aboard her dreadnought, Empress Tora rage. "Destroy them all," she screamed, her forearms flailing wildly. "I want that miserable planet reduced to ash." But the combined fleet of humans and their allies fought with a determination that shocked the Imperial forces. Ships piloted by former enemies now fought side by side, covering each other's backs. The Hope led a daring attack run on Xora's dreadnought. As they dodged and weaved through enemy fire, Dr. Rodriguez worked furiously at her console. "If we can just get close enough," she muttered, "I think I can shut down their main reactor." Suddenly, a massive explosion rocked their ship. Alarms blared as the Hope began to spin out of control. "We're hit," Ling shouted over the noise. "Engines gone." As the Hope tumbled towards the dreadnought, Jack made a split-second decision. "Emily," he said, turning to the young girl, "can you link with their ship?" Emily nodded, her face pale but determined. She closed her eyes, reaching out with her mind. The whole ship seemed to hum with energy. Just before impact, the Hope blinked out of existence and reappeared inside the dreadnought's hangar bay. "Go," Jack shouted. The team raced out, fighting their way through confused Imperial troops. With Emily's guidance, they made their way to the ship's core. As Dr. Rodriguez worked to overload the reactor, Jack and Ling held off waves of Imperial soldiers. The air was thick with energy blasts and the clash of advanced weaponry. Outside, the battle reached its climax. The Allied fleet, inspired by the Hope's daring maneuver, pressed their advantage. Imperial ships began to fall back in disarray. Just when it seemed they might be overwhelmed, Emily's voice rang out. "It's done. We need to go now." The team fought their way back to the Hope. As they lifted off, the dreadnought began to shake violently. They barely cleared the hangar bay before the massive ship exploded in a blinding flash of light. The explosion took out a large portion of the Imperial fleet. The rest, seeing their flagship destroyed and their empress presumed dead, began to surrender or flee. As the Hope rejoined the Allied fleet, cheers erupted across every communication channel. Earth was safe. The Empire was defeated. In the days that followed, representatives from worlds across the galaxy gathered on Earth. It was time to build a new future, not an empire, but a federation of free worlds. As Jack watched aliens and humans mingling in the rebuilt streets of New York, he felt a tug on his sleeve. It was Emily. "What do we do now?" she asked. Jack smiled, looking up at the stars. "Now, kiddo, we explore. There's a whole galaxy out there, full of wonders we've never imagined." Emily grinned. "I bet they've never imagined us, either." And so, as Earth took its place among the stars, a new message began to spread across the galaxy. It wasn't run anymore. Now, it was welcome to the Federation. All free beings are welcome here. The Galactic Empire's first war with humans had ended, but humanity's greatest adventure was just beginning.